glad you're all here. There's so many people here. Not scared at all. Okay, so a little bit about me. She covered most of it. I have taught about 200 individuals how to put together their own phones. I do that kind of in my spare time. A lot of that has been made possible by Seed Studio. So Ivy's here from Seed Studio. Give her applause for Seed Studio. So, and even our 2G phone, it was basically just the Seed Studio rephone kit in a very 3D printed case. So, but it made it possible. It was actually the tester that I put together for people to, because they weren't taking me seriously. You know, I wanted to build a phone, and they're like, what are these metal models? What are these wood models? And I really wasn't getting good feedback, and that was not what I had been taught in school. You know, when I had been taught to test things, you know, you never build, you know, one iota of anything until you work through the paper models and then the cardboard models and then, you know, go through all the steps. But until it could actually make a call and receive a text, they weren't ready to give me good feedback. But once we were able to do that, then we were able to find out that they wanted a different color and they wanted different functions, and that was really valuable. So thank you very much to Seed Studio for that. So, and I'm also a hair experimentalist. So Sophie Wong actually tweeted out that she got stickers made about 2 weeks ago from a person named Des Malone, and I was like, wow, that's cool. Maybe she could do like my face or whatever. And so I sent her some pictures that I had, and I mentioned that I'm always changing my hair color. So she did the rainbow to epitomize that. So we have our electrical engineer here. I do electrical engineering, but of course there's more than I can handle. And so my Deng is in the back. Here, and I wanted to mention, because this is her first trip with me, so she drew the short straw. At Maker Faire Bay Area, I'll be doing two different presentations. So the first is a presentation on getting started with building your own phone. So I go over all of the hobby phones that are available on the market today. So from the ones that are very, very easy to put together to the ones that take several days to put together and involve quite a bit of soldering. So that's a great talk to attend if you're just looking to get into building hobby phones. I try to make that as accessible as possible. The other presentation, so they're kind of back to back, but I'm doing a workshop right afterwards with the rephone kit create. So that's usually quite a popular workshop, and we only have 15 kits, so there's only a few spots available. If you're interested, it's well worth the 90 minutes that you would spend. We actually put the phone together in about 10 minutes of the class, and the rest of the class is spent modifying it. So as mentioned, my company's name is Detour, and this is the website, backstory on the website. We asked the designer to not have any rectangles in it. You wouldn't believe how difficult that is to do for websites nowadays, and she did a great job. I found the little tool for the menu, so if you click on the menu, it pops out into a fan. It's so trick. So really, really like that. A lot of people ask about the name of Detour. It's actually an acronym that stands for designing the opposite of rectangle, but that has a little bit of negative connotation, so we actually prefer the other slogan, which is non-rectangular phones for, non-rectangular people. Sorry, there we go. My computer just hung. It worked there, but it didn't work here. So in 2016, we released the Circle Phone prototype on Kickstarter. It was fantastic. It was very successful. We delivered all the rewards, the classes, the t-shirts, everything within 60 days. So really proved that our team could get product out. And then we've been working on the 4G phone since then. It has Android 9 on it, and we've been waiting for those modules for 14 months. So that's been kind of painful. So, I was supposed to hand out a clipboard. Hey, Mai, Do you mind grabbing out of my bag? There's a yellow clipboard. Or a yellow pad of paper. Could you just pass that around, please? If you don't mind putting your email or whatever information you want me to have to sign up. We send out information about the phone building classes, the phone building videos. We also feature videos on competitors' phones. So we love doing quirky little videos on those and doing reviews. We've also formed a consortium of indie handset makers. Anybody making phones here? Awesome. Yes, if you're small enough, you can be part of us. So we love it. We kind of did it tongue in cheek, but honestly, if we can get 100 members, then we actually get discounts for conferences and things like that. So if you hear of anybody making a phone, please have them contact me. And I also do an online resource for Seattle area resources for hardware startups. And I just send out that link, and then people can find in the Seattle area where they can find manufacturers and assemblers there if you're making hardware. Of course, we do the team updates and launch for the Circle phone, but the last newsletter that we sent out was in November, so we don't do it very often, but when we do, it's really cool. So this next portion was sponsored by GateWorks. I don't know if has anybody heard of GateWorks before? Raise your hand if you have. But he gave me some very nice swag to hand out for these questions. Anyways, they make industrial strength boards. So for example, if you want something that can really withstand temperatures, a wide range of temperatures is really cool. But they also introduced me to, it wasn't on my radar, but I wanted to mention it because we're going to talk about modules in just a second here. So the Iridium satellite module, has anybody been using that? Okay, fabulous. I would like to talk with you later. Oh, because you're in Australia, right? Is that why? Okay. Okay, so this one you get prizes if you answer my questions. Okay, so who is working on a Wi-Fi device? Okay, fabulous. Who's working on a Wi-Fi device that wears extra large, large, and small? Okay. Okay, can you pass me that? Thanks. There's 3 shirts there. Okay, who's working on a Bluetooth device? Surely you need a USB thumb drive. Wait, who else raised their hand? Okay. Thank you, GateWorks. Thank you, GateWorks. Okay, and then who's working on a 2G device? IoT 2G device, anybody? Yes. So is it 2G? What is it?
No, it uses Wi-Fi actually.
Okay, fabulous.
They have a key booth actually. I'm working on a device that uses Bluetooth.
Okay. Definitely. Okay, and then, that's right. You got a small left? Yeah. Okay, and then is anybody working on LoRaWAN? Anybody? Little bit? All right, Alex, good to see you. So, fabulous. Okay, so thank you, Ron, for the t-shirts. I saw him at IoT World this week. So I went to IoT World and Display Week this week. So fabulous. What's the difference between an IoT module and a phone module? So when I started in the industry, when I would talk to suppliers, they would basically tell me Cat 4. But when I started looking at the specs a little bit more, I prefer Cat 6. So does anybody have a preference? Especially you? Yes, exactly. The more, the better. So, yes. So CAT's not a CAT. CAT stands for category. Did I pay you to make that question? That was perfect timing. So, and each category describes a downlink and uplink. And I have a table on the next slide, but before we get to that, so for example, the Samsung Galaxy has Cat 18 and Cat 13 on their Note 9. And then the XS, the iPhone XS, is They call it a Cat 4, but I'm looking at the speeds. It's really kind of Cat 3. So this table kind of outlines it a little bit more. And when you get down to the nitty-gritty, when you're dealing with an IoT device, you're generally Cat 1 or below. And why would you want below a Cat 1 for an IoT device? Yes, exactly. So battery. So some module formats that you'll find out there are, of course, the LGA module. That's what we use. You can also use a PCIe module. And there's lots of those available. Sierra Wireless has some really good ones out there. So what modules are available for makers? So I didn't know how to define this, but they're already on a board. The module is already attached and kind of laid out for you. So really excited to see, everyone is familiar probably with Particles board, the E-Series, but who has heard of PyCom? Okay, a couple people. So UK are they in the, I think they're in the UK, but they just finished their Kickstarter campaign. It was successful, they're delivering, they're awesome. And they're also being featured on other websites like SparkFun's website. And I think, do people say Adafruit or Adafruit here? Ada? Okay. So I'll just say Ada. And then Adafruit has, of course, the Fona board. And the Fona board, I know these are small pictures, but the Fona board's bigger. It's kind of this size. And then they also have a smaller board, which I haven't played with yet, but this is one of the phones that we teach has the Fona Shield on it. So really like that board. If you get, she has actually, Adafruit has two different formats. If you get the one with the SIM 800, then it's just GSM, but the SIM 808 has GPS as well. And then I am so happy because I love SparkFun. Because when I gave this, when I was giving my hobby talks in hobby phone talks last fall at the New York Maker Faire, I checked SparkFun's website and it was devoid of any kind of cellular device. And I was like, they're missing it, come on SparkFun. And then I just happened to check their website right before this talk, and they have a whole new line of cellular boards. So they're just starting to put out the support documentation to support those. So some of them are missing support documentation right now, but it looks like it's about 3 months old right now, so very cool. And then Seed Studio makes this module here that I really like. It's the Shadow GSM BLE. I love it because it's small, and also it's the only board that I've found that actually uses a MediaTek technology inside of it. So for makers. So I really like using that one a lot. So this is where I cover that you want these are the different modules that you want, and if you're doing IoT, and of course for the battery life here. So, and then what modules are available for startups? So if you are making, for example, in our case, phones, and you want something, or even in the IoT space, and you're looking for something to put on your board that's not already formatted, and you just want the module itself, Telit, U-Blocks here, wireless, Gemalto. ZT is making a new one that's really making headlines. Has anybody used it or heard of it or anything? So my friend Steve Bossart from Counterpoint Research, he mentioned this one to me recently, so I was surprised to hear it, but it's mainly for the automotive space. So if you're dealing in the automotive space, you might want to check that one out. And then interestingly enough, so I didn't know the standings of all the companies, and maybe that's not important to you either, but I'll just read this off. So Sierra Wireless has 32%, Gemalto has 20%, Telit has 18%, Simcom 9%, and U-Blocks was 7%. And yeah, I was really interested to not see Quectel there in those statistics. So I'm wondering if that made me kind of question where I was getting the statistics from, but anyways, those are what I read. What modules are available for bigger companies like Samsung, so they can go with a MediaTek or a Qualcomm? We originally tried to go with directly with a Qualcomm module, and had lots of problems. There's lots of bureaucracy there, so that's all I can say. And same thing with the MediaTek as well. It was very difficult to get the data sheets. So shipping products with cellular modules, how hard could it possibly be? Yes, that's right. Okay, so I just wanted to share with you some things. So when you're in the industry, you hear lots of interesting things on the street, and you're like, is this fact or fiction? You know, what's going on here? So smartphones take a team of 70 people plus just for the software. So Hugo, what would you say?
For the software, sure.
Fact or fiction?
Hundreds. But for the hardware, we got 8 people for RF and AP.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It was a hell of a
Yes. Exactly. So smartphones take 6 million years to develop. Oh, I'm sorry, $1 million. It just seems like 1 million years. Slip of the tongue. Yes, so it takes a lot of money. I'm not quite sure how accurate that is, but from my perspective, that's definitely within the ballpark. You can ship your board with a hologram SIM card, and then you don't have to be certified with a carrier. Exactly. So a novel smartphone takes about 2+ years to develop and produce. So the foldable phone, I think it's hitting like its 6th year. It takes about 5 years for the masses to find out about your hardware company. Anybody? Fact or fiction? No? That is a lot. How many years do you think it is? So more than your friends and family. Okay. That's right. Exactly. If you have $2,000 to spend on marketing, how long does it take? Yeah, 10 years. Exactly. If you have $200,000, maybe a couple years. Yes. That's true. Pardon me? That's true. Okay, and the last one, you must certify with the carrier. Fact or fiction? So it's fiction. There's no law that says that you have to certify with a carrier. However, yes, the U.S. carriers really want you, and plus you're using their network, so it'd be polite to actually provision with them. But in 2012, it was absolutely a must. You had to provision with a carrier. But in the last, how many years has it been? Since 7 years. That's gotten a lot looser, and we've noticed a lot of unlock phones, for example, have been selling quite well on Amazon. So, regulations. So I have a full regulations list in my Christina's notebook, and I forgot to tell you, these slides I tweeted out. It's also on my LinkedIn post as well. If you click on that link, so for those of you who are here, you get to know the secret. If you click on that link, you get free access to all that information. So, so these are a lot of the initials that you should be familiar with. Yeah, it's pretty deep. But I found this example of a sample certification order, and this is just for the module. This is not wrapped in an enclosure or anything. So these are the steps that they go through. So it's interesting that they do the data version first for T-Mobile, and then they do the voice version towards the last. I found that really fascinating.
There's a reason.
Tell me the reason.
E911, emergency call.
Okay.
You don't have to do for data.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have bonus slides, but where are we for time? Okay. Oh, not yet. Okay, thanks. Okay, so our honorary members of the consortium of indie mobile phone makers. So this slide's a little bit outdated, but I can give you an update. So these are some of the smaller companies that have been putting out phones. And the Unihertz Jelly, did anybody see that Kickstarter? They sold 12,000 units. So fantastic. Up to that time, only the light phone had sold quite a number of units. They sold 3,500 in their first Kickstarter campaign. So for those of you who do crowdfunding campaigns, it's very successful if you do successive campaigns instead of one big campaign. So if you get the chance to do that, I highly recommend it. The Light Phone finished their second campaign, as well as Jelly. They made a more resilient version of, Unihertz made a more resilient version of the Jelly as well. So very cool. Phones we were rooting for but didn't make it. So the Zero phone and the Kite phone. Maybe you've heard of these phones. Phones that did make it just recently. So the Faire phone raised 2 million, I think, euros. And the Maker phone, tons of backers, tons of followers. They made 300,000. I'm crossing my fingers for them. But they keep putting out pictures of all of the components that they are receiving and getting ready to ship. So, and they've already shipped products before. So, but I just think that price is a little low for how many people they have to deliver to. So. They're doing it, so very cool company. Cellular connectivity for IoT devices, I kind of already covered this. So particles, electron, but I did want to point out that they had recently had a Kickstarter last year. Was it in March? And I did want to point out that the boron featherboard does have IoT capability. So that's it. And then if we still have time, I'd like to show some, thank you. So I have some secret stuff to show you that we can't live stream. Oops, I went past the pink one. Pink, where are you? There you go. Okay, I'm just trying to bring up this link. Hold on. Okay, I have no mouse. Can I click? It's not a touchscreen, it's Apple. Wow. Sorry? Oh, thank you. There you are. Okay. Come on, you can do it. Yeah, she builds phones, but she cannot run an Apple. Okay. Nope. I did that. Come on. Come back. Why does Command Z not work? Okay, I guess I'm not meant to show it to you tonight. I'm so sorry. If you see me afterwards, I'll show you. I think I just deleted the link. Is the problem? Like Command Z is not working. It's not bringing it back. I'm crying.
Close it and then reopen it.
Okay.
But don't save it.
Do you mind doing that for me, please? Thank you. I'm afraid of deleting somebody else's slide deck. Thank you. Do you mind bringing up this link that's below the pink slide? I think it's like the 7th slide. There it is. Yeah. That link, please. Thank you.
Into Chrome?
Yes, please. Thank you. And this takes a little bit of time to render, but... So one of the great things about... One of the great things about using Autodesk Eagle is that in the last year, they've linked it to Autodesk Fusion. And I've really, who's been using that? Who's been
Thanks, Matt. Our next presenter is here all the way from Queensland, Australia. He brought 9 people here with him, and they're going to talk about making in Australia at the Maker Faire this weekend. His name is Mike Black. That's him right there. And he was telling me earlier that he builds big, audacious projects and fundraises for them. So I think we all like to know about how you raise money to build big, expensive projects, and I think that's a lot of what Mike's going to talk about. Welcome, Mike.
G'day, folks. My name's Mike Black. I'm a creative technologist, software and hardware engineer, and an internationally exhibited artist. That's a lesser-known fact. So I actually run a commercial lab on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia. We're a private R&D provider to high-level federal research agencies, defence, university research labs, and work to inform government policy and for advanced manufacturing. We work mostly in microelectronics, IoT, lighting, and biotech, but most of our work, by the nature of it, is highly secretive. So we operate a public engagement that is all about growing the maker movement in Australia and having a hell of a lot of fun doing it. So the public side has seen lots of major events with thousands of attendance, TV episodes, media impressions, and so on. But for me, the bit that gets me excited to keep doing all of our public work is the personal stories that we get through there. So I hope to actually share some of those cool ones with you today. So I'm in San Francisco at the moment because I'm here with 9 other makers. This has been a 2-year-long plan. I came for Maker Faire 2017 and was like, oh my God, these are my people. And I was like, how do we get the Aussies to come over there? But not just the ones that can afford it, but the ones that are deserving to come, like the people that are doing all the community projects, the people that are running the maker spaces maybe don't have the cash to actually do that. So there was this long process through the Queensland government to actually lobby for funding to actually bring these people over. So tomorrow is like, yes, we did it. Like, they're here. They're arriving tomorrow. So super excited to tour around Maker Faire with them and catch up throughout the next week, meeting some of the people that are actually here today who will be meeting throughout the week and getting them excited about what the maker movement is over here, how you can actually be commercially sustainable, like especially like the stuff that you guys do. Like you're actually doing this all the time. This isn't just to make an art chair. This is what you do as a day job. But before I go into it, actually, with this flag behind me, do we have any Aussies in the room? Hey, g'day mate, how you going? So our public side of the work is best described as make-believe. And really, because most people don't believe things are possible until you make them. And being able to make, for me, feels like being a modern-day magician. Like, people don't really understand how it all works. You get to pull these things together. It looks really cool and amazing. Everybody's all excited about it. People suspend disbelief for a brief moment, and you create something magical through the process. And so, but I also love the kinds of conversations you have with your friends. Like, when you have maker friends. Like, I'm sitting at this makerspace. I'm sitting next to my friend Chris. I'm like, hey, dude, do you have a way of making 3 million volts? And like, that's a normal question. Like, that's not, nobody flinches about that. He's like, oh, like Van de Graaff generator, or how much, like, what sort of amperage you're looking at. Like, and that starts making a real question. It's actually a particle accelerator. Does anybody have a particle accelerator in the room? Just show hands. Okay, I'm still looking for that one. So, or it's a phone call from this young girl who's got this amazing opportunity to go and make an interactive, light-up, tweetable cape for the Duchess of Luxembourg. It's like, I've got a week. Or maybe it's building an autonomous death car over a weekend with the build team from Mad Max Fury Road. Or serious conversations about hydrokinetic power generation, or do you reckon that RF signature is a heartbeat, or getting an invite to United Nations agency to talk about the future of space and the industry of space in Australia. Like, there's real astronauts in the room. I don't belong here right now, kind of situations. And that's, I think, the super fun that we get to have. But for me, it all started, I was a software developer, worked in like high availability, always online SaaS platform stuff, and moved to hardware because I was sick of measuring my world in inches diagonally. And so for me, it started with Australia Day, which is a national holiday. It's on barbecues, beaches, fun times, family, friends, that kind of stuff. And I like to entertain. So I've got a nice, my house is designed to entertain. So I want people to come and go as they please. We had about 30 people turning up over the course of the weekend. And I didn't want to get keys cut. Really simple problem statement. So what I did was stuffed around on Instructables and eBay like everybody does at the first points, and found I can get this little Arduino thing, and I could hook it to a relay, and I could, well, because I was a software developer, I could build a very simple app that would allow me to open and close my garage door. That became the starting point for testing everything that was an on-off sensor. So when I got my first Epoch EEG headset, and I'm standing out the front of my garage door like this, trying to concentrate to make my garage door move. Like every single one of the things that I've had has had a chance to open or close the garage door, including the first day I got the Microsoft Connect, and I had this interpretive dance routine to open the garage door. The neighbors across the road don't talk to us anymore. Like kids don't talk to him, keep walking. But for us, it all started with this public project. This is where we actually got out and did things. We built a little app and got kids to mix a sequence of colors together to describe who they are as a person. And it sounds like a fairly innocuous question, but it's like, if you were to describe you as a color, which color would you choose? Why that color? And which color would come first, which would come last? And we built these very simple modules, just 8 tiny 85, 5 WS28 12s on there, and then repeated the process 468 times until every kid's story had a place in this giant wall, which we called the pixel mosaic. And through that, the kids could then come to a little iPad. We actually built a bigger touchscreen after this video. A little iPad, read the story, and then go and see, find their tile on the wall from the row and column in the whole data visualization of it. But what it became was this public art piece. Like, it actually became something that toured. People got all excited about it. Kids were able to express their stories. We got to 74 different schools, got over 10,000 kids participate in the project. So we had statistically relevant data at that point, and we could start doing things like, well, show me, what's the difference between a public school and a private school? A boy and a girl, or somebody between these age brackets and stuff like that, and had this big data visualization tool. Massive shout out to Paul at the back there for the Teen Z and the Octo WS2811 that made that totally possible. So I didn't really know what I was doing, really. At that point, I basically leveraged Paul's genius. And we managed to put that together. And I think you're going to find there's a common thread through having a small thing and doing a lot with it. But to fund that, we actually funded that through an arts program because they were struggling to find a way to connect with kids and make art still relevant to kids. And so if you can present it in that way and say, well, look, this is actually a technology program. This is a new media arts project. And also $27,000 on my credit card. But it's okay, it came back. But it made sense to them to say, this is a way we can connect with kids. And we could turn it into a bigger story. And we had like the elderly community do a traditional mosaic across the bottom. So we had like the old and the new all in one. And so I found that the arts funding, they were just totally ready for it. And there was actually quite a bit of funding around for it to get on the tour once they actually saw it was possible, once they believed we could make it. It took us 6 weeks in my garage in the summer, like proper summer, Aussie summer, sweating away, making 6,000 little plastic tabs with a drop saw, and I learned how to CNC after that. Lots of learnings. But now we had this big wall, and we're like, and I'd also just got that new headset, and I'm like, yeah, what if we did some more things with it? So started getting interested in EEG devices and reached out to the Melbourne University. They had this research project on alpha ray symmetry to detect attention, and we thought, well, what if we could give that a number out of 100? If you had a number out of 100, you could use it in a video game. Let's play a video game. Let's make a giant game of tug of war with your brain. Competitive mindfulness. Why competitive mindfulness? Well, because competitive mindfulness is a way to get other people to engage with the idea of meditation. Because when it's not whale music, cow chips, and yoga pants, and it's now something that's like, I'm going to beat you, I'm going to take you down. It actually removes some of that stigma that's associated with meditation. And so it was not really about reaching the people that had already had an affinity with this. It was about reaching new markets. new people to get them excited about it. And so, deep in the moment. So, I mean, it's connected up as well. You've got to have a bit of pageantry here. So we've got smoke machines. We've got like big front of house. You would have seen there's at least 400 or 500 people crowded around us for an entire 5 days. 5 days, what, a step right up, come this way kind of thing. You are absolutely exhausted at the end of it. But within the first minute, they get taught how to meditate. We'll get to that state of attentive mindfulness. When they're in that state, the wall changes to blue and red. And so they get a score, and it gets averaged, and they can push each other off the wall. Now, for the people that do this, that actually do it fairly well, I've got my little Surface with me, and I'm playing like distracting sounds, like, a phone ringing. Do you know how many adults can ignore a phone ringing, even though it's not their ringtone? 0. 0 is the number. And you can see it happening, and the brainwaves are being broadcast onto the TVs around and stuff like that. And so there's like this constant sort of engagement with, I can actually read brainwaves. Brainwaves are cool. This is fun. We can all meditate. But the technology was actually quite simple. And props to Muse for actually sending me 4 of their devices and being super supportive whilst we were definitely pushing some things that were not intended out of that whole process, because it made it accessible, it made it fun, and even though we only had this small thing to work with, we could actually have this great experience. One of my favorite stories from this is we had like footy mad dad, cricket mad son. They both come up, and they're both sitting on their seats like this, and like before they got up, I'm getting a bit bored by this stage, it's like 4 hours in. You guys know each other? Yeah. Can you give me some dirt on the other person? I was like, oh yeah. He's just got his new girlfriend called Jess. Okay, cool. That's for the son, like dad says about son. Son says about dad, oh yeah, he recently fell off his motorbike and had to go to hospital. So they're going along and playing the sounds to distract them and all that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, there's electro swing playing. I forgot to mention that. That's hard to meditate to. But it tells the story that you can actually do this in a busy environment. So son's winning. Start playing the notifications sound like, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. It's like, what are all these messages from Jess? Oh, that's it. Beta, stress response, son's out of it, dad's winning. And the dad's like, yeah, I've got this. And he's trying not to smile. He's trying to concentrate on what he's doing. Because the trick is, if you want to win, you have to not want to win. It's a bit of fun. And then I just happened to have the sound of a car driving past and screeching. I mean, what were the chances? I play that sound. That was lucky. Nearly fell off my motorbike. He cracks up laughing. Son wins. Game's over. But some of the other stories were like the kids that came up and did it, and they're like, so what did you do? Like, they just flogged their parents. And like, what did you do? And they're like, I just imagine putting my Lego set together brick by brick. I'm like, wow, kid. Like, people trek through India to learn that stuff. So now we had this big pixel wall, and it was super fun, and we could do interactive things with it. And so I thought, well, what if we turn it into a giant game of Space Invaders? And Pitfall. Does anyone remember Pitfall? Yeah, Pitfall rocks. So built this giant joystick. As you can see, it does take a bit of leverage. Maker style. So it's just an aluminium pole. It's not a stripper pole, in case you're asking. Garden light on the top and CNC, rounded button and stuff like that. But it connected up to, I created in Canvas, HTML5 Canvas, simple app that was the exact number of pixels and recreated game of Space Invaders and Pitfall, and then was streaming that over Canvas to through Node.js to the Teensy that was then running the wall. And we took it to festivals. And people went crazy over it. Like, you can imagine, you're like 3 hours into the festival, like you're waiting for the main act. You're like, what am I going to do? And like, holy crap, what is this? So people, turned out, it was actually structurally sound. Could have been a stripper pole. People definitely used it as one. But it was lots and lots of fun. And so this was funded by the festival. So the project was really simple to pitch, because all I had to do was appeal to people's inner child, like that suspension of disbelief, and say, hey, like Space Invaders, do you want to do that big? And at no point were we secretive about how it worked. Like, if anybody said, so how does it work? Like, get off it, I need to lift it up and show them, Because it's all about sharing that. And that's why we do the public stuff. It's my only chance I get to talk about things that we do. I actually did pitch this to Sony. I was actually in the head office pitching this to Sony for that Pixels movie that had Adam Sandler in it, which was, of course, going to fail. Unfortunately, the budget wasn't there because, surprise, surprise, it didn't do that well in the critics. But it was lots of fun to watch a bunch of executives around this table in Market Street, overlooking like the water and everything else like that, playing with this miniature version that I made. Like, no, the real one's like, this is to scale. Turns out when you enlarge real things to big size, you actually can just take the real thing, and that's your proof of concept. So from there, I expanded out to do a whole bunch more stuff with LEDs. I've had lots and lots of fun building crazy LED things. I got to spend some time in China developing, huge pixel meshes, building the world's brightest RGB LED, doing like motion tracking things where you walk underneath, it creates ripples in the light above it, playing Pong across streetscapes, and having just so much fun, all using the same tech I was using before. Did have to up from the WS2811s and things like that. We had to step up from those points, but the general control, this is all done in a canvas running in JavaScript. Because you can use game engines, like you can have physics, you can have all of these things that you can normally do in a video game and just do it on lights, and it's all of a sudden cooler. So we're controlling lights. We're like, oh, what if we control physical things as well? This looks kind of fun, and we kind of want high touchy as a customer. So I'd met at this festival, I met this guy with a massive beard. His name's Jared. And we were drinking because all good ideas start like that. And he's like, mate, I'm from Mackay. And he's like, I want to get kids into mechatronics. We've got heaps of people that are displaced by the downturn in mining. What can you do? I'm like, hey, can you get me an excavator? I'm like, yeah, it's Mackay. How many do you want? I said, I want a really big one. So he gets me like this 33-ton excavator. I was like, I'm going to leap motion control that thing. Which is not super hard, but watch the look on this kid's face when he's like, damn, I did that. So simple Cartesian system on the inside, that's a mobile phone holder wrapped around a pantyhose. We needed ballast. Just controlling it around with Wi-Fi sensors built onto the device. And we had 7,000 people turn up for that in a town that's like you could fit all of Mackay in San Mateo. Like the population's the same. And it was like, it was the talk. Like it was the thing. I remember when it came to town. So lots and lots of fun. Did workshops in the schools as well so that they knew what we're building. They could understand, what was... Okay. We could understand where we're at, the things that go wrong, and they were quite receptive to... how are we going for time, by the way? Because my timer doesn't work. 7, great. I want to ask, because I want to hear this story about AJ. So there's always that one story. Whenever you do these events, there's that one person that stands out. So this kid's like 12 years of age. He's got his thumb in his pockets like this. He's got his flannel shirt and his Aussie Akubra hat. And he's like, I reckon that'd work on a dozer. Now, that's a bulldozer, like a front-loaded thing. He stayed with that the entire day. Like his mum went and got him lunch and brought it back. His highlight of that day was showing the mayor of Mackay how to gesture control an excavator. He's not even legally old enough to drive one. So to me, that was super exciting. And at the end, when all the stuff was packed away, I was like, hey, AJ, do you want to see inside? It's like, oh, do I ever? Exploding on the inside as we went up, and I showed him, like, here's how the robot moves and stuff. So, like most of these, this is another drunk conversation. We're like, hey, dude, how hard do you reckon it'd be to build a self-driving car? I don't know. Do we have to build the whole car? No, we can take an old one and just pull it apart. Yeah, right. That's pretty much the story. So we had 72 hours. We grabbed these old junkers off Gumtree, which is a Aussie Craigslist, aptly named. And we, with nothing, decided that we would build, just as many libraries as we could use, just automate these cars into death cars, because we actually had the team from Mad Max Fury Road come over and like, hey, that sounds pretty cool. We'll be in on this as well. So built these autonomous death cars. But turns out if it's really difficult to build AI to avoid pedestrians, it's actually really easy to attack them. And So sometimes problems are not about actually solving the problem, it's just flipping it on its head and finding the opportunity that's a little bit easier. So that's one of our cars, Linda. It was a voice-activated car that was driving itself even in the simulator. You know, all low-tech stuff, that kind of thing. But it makes people start asking a new question and saying, well, could I build a self-driving car? Well, maybe I could build a self-driving go-kart. Maybe I could do that as a school project. Maybe like all of these things start becoming possible. They're no longer something that's just the realm of the big companies that are doing this. Don't advise taking one of these on the road. Definitely not. We did lose one in the creek. We learnt the value of an e-stop that's external. Running after this thing, just like trying to jump in the side of it. Super fun driving around a full-size car with an Xbox controller, just saying. And you know, just other little projects like this, this is a brain-controlled motion platform roller coaster experience. So it guarantees to always make sure that you're as stressed as you possibly can be. And what I like about this story is that the line, it was authentic. The line was 45 minutes long. So it was a real roller coaster experience. It was for Facebook when they came to Australia and they did this big like regional roadshow thing. And well, there was one of the kids who was actually in the audience. He's like, oh, this is cool. I've never been on a roller coaster before. I'm like, have we got to that point in time when the very first experience of a child enjoying a roller coaster is virtual? So currently, this is another project that actually found its way to a commercial outcome because we're now modifying this as a surfboard to detect vestibular disorders in you know, younger people that don't. The way that they detect vestibular disorders at the moment are ridiculous. So, you know, inner ear balance and things like that. So ended up actually finding its way as a medical device, but it got to stay in my lounge room for a little while, which is super cool. So ag tech's a really big thing in Australia. And this is the main one I want to talk about for funding. So at this point, I built up a little bit of street cred around what we're doing, and I've been doing so much stuff in terms of policy and trying to, you know, get people excited about making. And again, it's not about me; it's about the whole movement of everybody doing cool things. And we came with this idea of ag tech's a really big thing, but we expect farmers to just buy the IoT device. Like if you told the farmer that you can buy the pump, but every time the pump breaks, you have to fly some dude that's 4 hours away over to fix it, they never buy the pump. But yet we're expecting that from the IoT devices, and it's stupid. So we thought, well, what if we actually went on the farm, we understood the problems, we'd spend a week there, we'd get a maker bus, we'd strip the back of it out, put some gear in there, get 16 of the coolest makers, we'd just like drive down there and then work on the farm. Turns out working on the farm's really hard. It's real hard yakka. Like, we're stuffed the first night. Yeah, we'll do the work on the farm, and then that night we'll hack on the things to make it better for the next day. First night, I'm going to bed. But what we did is we ended up convincing the University of New South Wales, thanks guys, that it was a cool idea. And so they're like, yeah, we'll do a pilot project. And then we then spoke to the Department of Primary Industries and said, hey, the university's backing it. What do you think? Do you think it's a cool idea? Yeah, we think it's a cool idea. We back it to this. Let's go back to the university. Department of Primary Industries. Pretty cool on this idea. They're backed it for this. What do you reckon? Oh, we'll up the ante. We'll put it there. We go to the New South Wales Farmers Association, like, hey, these two guys are in it. What do you reckon? And so you just keep doing that in a loop until you're like, I actually think we're oversubscribed now. What are we going to spend this on? Which is a great problem to be in, because everything you're doing in this space is to try and give and enable people to do stuff. So we did it twice. We went back down this time, but not to show them, like not to do it for them, but to actually get them to know how to do it themselves. And so we ran these workshops. We got people to sit there and like solder their own IoT devices and understand how to do really basic things like, you know, Hall effect sensors for magnets and stuff like that, but that means you know something's on or off or moved or, you know, things like that. And the main thing that I wanted to say on this one is I could see when we were going down there working with these, there was this, I gave this presentation at the end, there's like these two old farmers, like at the back of the room, arms folded, body language like, yeah, city slicker, get out of here, you know, that sort of stuff. And I've been working on what if we voice activated it? Because if you think of the times of challenge, like when there's low economic, like drought and stuff like that, we always have drought. The first thing that goes is the farmhand. So there's the farmer's driving around by himself, nobody to talk to, longer hours, and half the time they have to drive all the way over the other side of the farm just to check something. Dashboards don't really work. Screens don't work, just saying. Ag tech don't do screens. Day one, farmers broke it, dropped it on the ground. They've got big fat farmer fingers. Covered in mud, they're holding things at the same time. It's 12 o'clock, you can't see the screen. Voice interface. Now that makes sense. So if you say, how many head of red do I have in paddock 3? You have 317. Order the truck? Yeah, sure. Like that kind of stuff. Turn the pump on. Did I leave the gate open? Yeah, which gate? The top one. Yeah, left the top gate open. Like that kind of simplicity of like 2-level deep voice interface. That was the moment that these older farmers at the back of the room like stood up like, so this is available? Got to have lots and lots of fun with that, left them with that. They ended up creating their own little Facebook group, and they would get together and they make the little IoT things, and they're all farmers. Look at him, he's like a farmer, and he's doing all these IoT things. It's great. So funding that came from finding the people that need to be seen to be caring about a particular demographic who have no idea how to do it. Do have great ideas how to do that, but sometimes need some help in execution on how to make that more accessible and public. We're filming. If you can do that and then not worry about the credit, it's amazing what you can get done. Like, who cares who actually, like, even if you did all the work, it's not about you. It doesn't matter. Like, just let that pass on to the next person. That seems to be where we get all of our funding from. So I've been often told that a lot of my ideas are really pie in the sky, and so I was desperate to do it. So I actually have a world record for the highest pie in the southern sky. That's it there. All Australian beef. Thanks, Garlo's Pies. Good pies. This is actually a question about cheap comms, and we needed a way to fund a project to do ground to mesosphere communications and understand, like, how can we do this super cheap? Could we just hack could we use a software-defined radio and use, ham radio? Could we, what can we do to get like decent comms but not spend money, much money on it? But that doesn't capture anybody's attention. You say, I'm going to put a pie in the sky, and I'm also going to put a second payload. It's going to be called the flying saucer. And it's going to be tomato sauce that comes out on the pie. Turns out it doesn't work, it freezes at 19 degrees. But anyway, 19 degrees is pretty cold, actually, when you're at that point. 19 degrees, 19 kilometers. It freezes at 19 kilometers because it's like minus something stupid degrees. But part of the story was also not to just take that as Mike does a crazy project, or Mike and his mates do a crazy project, or Mike and like 60 people turned up to this like nowhere place in the Hunter Valley to do this, because that's where the pie shop was. Or the 6.5 million media impressions and TV spots we got for it. Or the launching of the accelerator program that we ended up piggybacking onto the back of that, or the whole United Nations Space Agency thing, or any of those things. To me, the story that stood out to me was the beautiful story of when we were actually at Ronald McDonald House, which is for kids that are terminally ill. And I'm sitting there and I'm talking, they're building this payload we're going to send up with it, right? And it's just a simple power generator type thing. And I'm sitting there talking to them about a future, like these are kids that have got like 3 to 6 months, sort of range thing. And I feel quite sad because this is 6 months ago. But in that moment, we were talking about a future that nobody was going to be present for. The time when we've colonized Mars or something like that. Like, it was such a beautiful equalizing thing to have as this conversation in this room with these kids, and hear what they had to say about the future of humanity and how we were going to somehow solve all of these problems, knowing that nobody was going to be there for it. I think there's a great saying for society succeeds when there's people plant trees that they'll never seek the shade from. So this turned to there's like real projects behind this, like a solar sail mission to Phobos, which is one of the moons of Mars. But yeah, so in quick recap, because I'm conscious of my time, do you make believe? So basically, start with something welcoming and relatable, but also seemingly impossible. And we all know it's not that hard. Like, you saw all those things. You could have done any of them. Like, they're all very doable things. Leverage the crap out of simple things. Like, you've got these giants that you can stand on that make these incredible things, and then you can just make them accessible and welcoming for people so that they don't feel like it's exclusive from them. Like, find ways to make others look great with limited work on their behalf so that they look really good. Give them all the credit. Doesn't matter as long as people are having fun. And it's not about you, even if you did the majority of the work. I said that. It's about the story. So if you can come away with some really cool stories to tell, that's the real success story, because you can do that again and again and again. I have so many I wish I could have more time to tell you about. So funding comes from so many places, but create a new entity each time so it's nice and clean. Best pro tip I can give you there. If you don't think it's worth creating an entity for, it's probably not a project worth your effort. Accounting's so much easier if you do that as well, and it allows private funders to actually get involved, which actually have now rolled up into bigger funds that we've ended up being able to create. So back to this, Startup Catalyst, 9 Aussies arriving tomorrow. We're going to tour around. We've created things like funding for maker spaces. We've got, we've seeded a whole bunch of them across Queensland. We've raised heaps of money around this space to try and get it exciting, get it happening, start seeding it. I mean, Australia should be a brilliant making nation, especially with our ag tech roots. And I want us to run a Maker Faire, please. Can we just do it? But we have to take a step back and have makers that make things that then we can have a Maker Faire, and then we can continue on after that point. So the future for me, I'm going to become an algae farmer. If you'd like to know more about that, please see me afterwards. But I am producing pharmaceuticals out of algae. That's my next make-believe. Thanks. All my Q&A time as well.
We're going to do
I really want to talk about my design process. Before I talk about my design process, I have to talk a little bit about me. Sorry, a little narcissistic, I know, but well, first of all, my name is Ravon. I am 27 years out of time, And I am, without a doubt, straight out of Compton. That's not a movie pun. I literally live in Compton. So drawing all my life, I, of course, love art. I love design. And then I ended up going to college actually here in San Francisco, the Academy of Art University. This is me freshman year. This is Cool J. Yeah, I literally call him Cool J because look how cool he's trying to be. All the black, all the edge. See him? Look, he's adorable. I went to art school. I spent, of course, all of art school drawing like crazy, but something I realized after drawing for more than 8 hours a day is that drawing is not the thing I want to do for the rest of my life. I mean, it sounded like a good idea at the time, but when you're 18, anything sounds good at the time. So. I ended up sewing. I ended up designing little dolls and getting them together and actually making an entire set of these little, well, people thought they were voodoo dolls, so I just kind of ran with it. So I was just like, sure, I practice voodoo. All right, cool, let's go with it. But of course, I wanted to continue making more and doing more, so I found myself on the internet searching for like more ways I can make my designs more realistic to move on their own, and of course that dragged me into robotics. This is my first robot. It's nightmare fuel, right? I call him Mr. J. That's the name I gave him because why not? This is before I got into 3D printing or design. So he's completely made out of fabric, foam, and this one, all it did was his jaw would move and the eyes would kind of like circle around the room and just go back and forth. It was kind of creepy, honestly, looking back at it, but edgelord, you know, hey. This is Alex Glow. I'm pretty sure you know this person. A while ago, I was surfing on the internet, and then I found an article from, of course, Alex Glow about having a companion bot, and this companion bot is she named Archimedes. And I saw this, and it totally changed my world. After that, I totally became obsessed with creating my own companion bot. I went nuts on looking at designs. I started off with a few sketches, of course, in my sketchbook, and the first design was just 2 basic servos moving and a basic rotation, and I had it equipped to my bag. Not sure how to play this. Play. Oh, okay. I'm not sure if it'll play. Will it play? Oops, I went too fast. I don't know how to work Apple Tech. I need an Apple person there. I hit space. It didn't do it. Escape. Let's find out. Geronimo. I don't think it's working. It's not showing me anything. I have no idea what's going on. I'm sorry. Okay, well, I guess we'll just continue on. I have no idea. Oh, it's just a video I was putting there on the slide. Sorry. No. He dragged me to the other screen. Yeah, it's over there. Oh. This is why I don't play with Apple Tech. Is it? No? It's on the other. Yeah, it's there.
Okay, guys, just let us bring it back over here so we can actually.
Sorry. This is like my first talk. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm winging this as the best as I can.
I'm winging it too.
Yay. Geronimo. It just keeps asking to sign in.
It keeps wanting to sign in.
So where's the video located in your Google Drive?
Yeah.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
Oh, I shared it with you, didn't I? I shared it with
But
you.
that's not on the computer.
Can you grab it from where he shared it, and then we can look at it after? Is that okay?
Yeah, fine.
Sorry about that.
It happens. This is a bad idea. Okay. Anyway, continuing on, I guess. The first one works the best that it could be, and I tried to decorate it afterwards. I decided to go with a spider companion because I went after an African folklore tale of a spider trickster god. So I was like, cool, that sounds cool. I like spiders. Spider-Man's popular. Let's go with that. So this is my Halloween costume I built for it. It looks pretty cool. It was a fun time, but sadly, it never got to the party because the robot failed on the way to the party. V1 was a failure, of course, but all prototypes usually end with failure. So I got back to work. I started designing on V2. I decided to sit down, try to add different servos, different techniques. The head worked on the trinket, and it just did basic servo rotations back and forth, 0 to 180 degrees, basic stuff. Oh, this one looks like it might play. Are we lucky today? Why am I rhyming? Oh, it's doing a thing. And it's not doing a thing. Oh, let's try it. Anyway, continuing on, and now I'm stuck. It won't let me continue on. Okay. I'm pressing things and nothing's happening. Oh, okay, there we go. There's another video, but of course it won't play, so I'm not even gonna try it this time. But I was able to, this is actually V3. It kind of works. I used a band strap to actually hold it down to me instead of using my bag this time, just for I can kind of not carry my backpack with me, but yeah. Eventually I put the backpack back on. It works. It was a nice, fun little bot. I was really proud of it. It did everything I wanted it to do and then some, and it was just a fun little robot. I took it with me to DesignCon. It was the first con I took any of my bots to at all, just so I can try to see how it would feel to be out in public and actually show my work in a public environment. It broke 5 minutes in. Like, literally said hi to 2 people, then it was just like, nope, I'm done. I think my robots are more nervous than I am. The picture, okay. I'm not sure if you guys seen Into the Spider-Verse. Big fan of that, cool. Yeah, it's an amazing movie, definitely inspired me. And this character, her name is Penny Parker, and she actually fights evil using a robot, which I, of course, love because superpowers are easy, robots are hard. And it gave me an idea because if you actually watch the movie, you notice the dome of the head actually doesn't move, but the LEDs in the head do. So I decided to take that idea and I ended up using it for my own project. So I sat down with Sketchbook, of course, and started getting to work. I knew basic LED circuits, so I definitely knew how to program a simple eye. And of course, the internet helped a lot. Thank you, internet. It took a while for me to get the design I wanted. It took probably, I guess, a good few months, especially because I was having like other 3D printer problems as well. But I didn't give up, so I kept trying it and trying it and trying it until I even tried 2 eyes at one point. But people don't like 2 eyes, apparently. Like, I did a poll on the internet, like, hey, it has 2 eyes now, and nobody liked the 2 eyes. Everyone wanted the 1 eye. They're just like, it bears a Cyclops. So I was like, all right, cool, let's go with the Cyclops. So this picture I took, it was a selfie that I was at my craft space, my maker space, and I was just like, cool, I'm gonna take a cool little selfie to show my robots done and show it off today. And I took this picture and I shared it on the internet just for like a kick and giggle, and it just took on a life of its own. Like, literally, I looked at my phone, the next morning I had like 100 new followers, and I got an email from Alex Glow for an interview. I was just like, what the heck happened? Like, this, of course, was a video, but it's not playing, so we'll continue on. So, of course, after a while, talked to Alex, and Alex told me that I should try to make it, do it yourself public. So I spent an extra 2 months rebuilding it, trying to make it a lot easier and a lot more compatible. So I ended up making what I call V4. It's right there in V4.2 now. That's the smaller one. And that one is the one I actually published. I sat down, typed it up, took all the pictures. And that way, I tried to make it as easy as possible that anyone with a printer and basic knowledge can make one. That's pretty much it. My goal right now is to make more robots. I have a few in plan, a few droids, a few space bots, one bot I'm calling a Cthulhu bot. That one's gonna be fun, because who doesn't love Cthulhu? If you, come on guys, you love Cthulhu. Please follow me on Instagram. I do my best. I always share what I'm working on, and have a good night.
Sorry about the videos. We weren't able to make that work. So I think we'll do